Gary, would you open in a word of prayer tonight?
Sure. Let's pray. Our gracious God, we come to you, Lord, this evening now. We thank you for the beautiful weather as we see the change in seasons. We're thankful that you provided those change in seasons to show who you are. We ask for blessing down this night as we have a meeting here of the township. May you give us wisdom and discernment on how to make decisions for the betterment of the township. I pray that you may be with our police officers and our first responders and all those, Lord, that work for us. And we pray that you may give them safety, continue to give them safety. We're thankful that you have given them safety in the past. Continue to give them all the standing. Be with our residents, Lord. Be with us as we go through this election season, which can be contentious at times. Pray, Lord, that we know that you are in charge of all things. Bless us now in this time together. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Gary. You could rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Welcome those from the public who come this evening. Appreciate having you. Looks like we're all present tonight. So let's go on to item 5, approval of the agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support. Okay, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, agenda is approved. Item 6, communication letters and reports received for information. Item 7, public comments for action items remaining on tonight's agenda. We've got Jeff here from Comcast. I think he's only here on an as-needed basis. So this wouldn't necessarily be the time for him to speak, but others of you who'd want to address the board on any of our items this evening, you're welcome to do so.
Hello, Pete Plowman, Georgetown Precinct 13. I'd like to talk about items 12 and 11. Number 12 is about putting the traffic light at Brewer across the street from the entrance of the middle school. I remember in that subcommittee that the discussion was to put it at 40th Street, and I don't know where the change came to move it to Brower. Maybe you guys can discuss that, but since there's nothing in I believe it was the Services Committee that talked about it, I thought it was going to be a crosswalk at Brewer and then a traffic light at 40th. I don't know why we just don't have the kids walk down to 40th and cross there, because those two traffic lights are very close to each other. What, 1,000 feet from 36 to Brewer, maybe? The other item I want to talk about is the compressors. I'm not sure the $93,000 price that we're doing there. Don't we have a compressor over at Station 1 already? Isn't it certified every year to make sure it's running properly? Are we doing $93,000 for convenience? I was just thinking that if we're going to spend $93,000, let's spend it somewhere else for the fire department, like give those guys a raise or give them a bonus or whatever. I think that money would be better opposed there because, you know, with what's going on in the fire department, I know they're struggling with maybe morale issues, and maybe a stay bonus, stay for 12 months, collect the bonus, would be a good idea to make those guys staying around for a while. The issues is that, you know, with Bob Blitchock not being here, he's the one that really runs the fire department, and Matt owes his job to him, but the public doesn't know that yet because you haven't put my letter in your agenda yet, Jim. So I'm going to submit my letter to you once again.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the initial public comment period. Item number 8, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Supported. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item 9, approval of preliminary plat of the layout of Rivers Edge Estates number 2. I think phase 2 perhaps is 7 potential phases. Is there a motion to approve of this preliminary plat?
I would make that motion.
Motion made.
Support.
Supported. Discussion about that particular motion among the board. I guess maybe to kick it off, I'd look over toward Gary. Gary, I know it's low-density residential.
Yep.
I know they're looking toward as many as I thought, 200 potential lots by the time they're done. That's a lot of lots, but apparently there's sufficient land there to meet the requirements of low-density residential. They're not seeking any sort of rezoning, correct?
No.
Okay.
No. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a beautiful area. Anyone? Questions? Concerns? Hearing none. And we don't need a roll call that, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That is passed. Item 10, the Comcast contract renewal. There a motion to approve the Uniform Video Service Local Franchise Act renewal contract with Comcast.
So move.
Support.
Supported. As I said earlier, Jeff from Comcast is here. If there should be questions of him. I'm trying to think, is it every 10 years or 5? 10, okay, yep. Coming up on 10 here. And this would kick in, I believe, at the end of the month, the end of the current contract. Hearing a lot of discussion. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Now the item 11, fire station air compressors. Their motion to approve the low bid from Pro Air Midwest to purchase those air compressors for stations 2 and 3.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported and is on the floor.
We were talking about this at services last month, and the bottom line is they need access to air compressors. The fire department does to fill their SCBAs that they use for safe breathing while they're firefighting and around hazardous materials. And they only have one compressor at Station 1. And so if there is equipment from other stations, including, is it Station 3 where there's a fixed one, that has to be filled, if they need to refill any of their other equipment, it's getting toted around a lot, which is manpower time, which is a lot of driving people back and forth to get equipment filled. It's time that staff isn't able to do any other jobs because they're just working on transporting devices around in order to fill them up with air so that they're ready for the next kind of emergency situation that they need to respond to. And so this is going to put those air compressors in our other stations and better equip our firefighters to be able to use their time effectively and not be chasing each other all around town just trying to get stuff refilled as needed. So we feel like services felt like this was a good investment that is going to pay for itself certainly in the time that it's used, just in savings from all of the manpower hours that right now are going into getting these things refilled, and like the downtime of equipment and of the personnel that are having to do the refilling.
You mentioned the time that it's used. What is the time that a compressor like this would be used? What's its useful life, if you know?
Oh, I don't know. I just kind of said, is it going to pay for itself was kind of my big question. What's its useful life on an air compressor? So a big investment up front that's going to serve us well for a considerable amount of time moving forward.
The amount of staff time that it was taking was incredible. And I think you even mentioned that sometimes you have to use Allendale's.
So services thought that this was a good idea based on that and based on talking to Chief about the manpower and everything going back and forth.
How old is the compressor at Station 1? And Mr. Plowman said something about certification. It's yearly certification? What's the cost of that?
Why is there a difference between the compressor at Station 2 and Station 3? Oh, so you're increasing the size of the bottles at the same time? Okay. I see.
How often were we going to Allendale to use their system? How many SBCA bottles do we have? Six per engine. 36 total.
Matt, just curious, I didn't ask this before, but with your dive team, do you use this at all, or is it something? Okay.
How often are bottles refilled? You use them every week? Once a day? A couple times a month? How long does it take to recharge the 36? I'm assuming you use all 36 on typical call? A couple times a month?
So if I'm hearing it correctly, we have one now. We have the bottles at 3 already. And the second one we've tracked around to try to see if we can get from Allendale.
And so when they have to be replenished, when the big bottle that fills the littler ones has to be replenished, we're right now tracking one down from outside of our township. When we were talking about this in services, just feel strongly like for a community our size and a fire department that does so much to take care of our community and neighboring communities responding to emergencies, I feel like compressed air is like the biggest gift that we can give to them besides, the best equipment, like giving them access to the air that they need to do their job just feels like a no-brainer to me, like give the people what they need. But
I'll tell you, for me, Station 3 is a no-brainer to do that. I'm trying to justify in my brain Station 2 to have one at each location for an extra $61,000. So that's to have a backup. Then you're not tracking one down. You have 2 of them. So I guess that's where I'm at right now, trying to justify Station 2, why we would have all 3 when we would then not have to track down by having that.
That's the same thing I was thinking.
Station 3.
So Church Street is Station 2. And how often do we roll trucks out of there? Primarily Station 1 and Station 2? 2 is the busiest station? It is the current one at Station 1, is that fixed, it's not portable? So when you're refilling those, I'm assuming it's probably a big steel tank that you're cascading to smaller, and you're transporting that to Station 1 to refill. Right.
The compressor they're borrowing is a portable one that they can bring to it. But this putting fixed ones at both of the stations would make it so we're no longer tied to borrowing a portable one from other communities. We would have a fixed compressor in each station where the fixed bottles are that need to be filled.
What's the cost of a portable?
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah. What's the PSI of these 3,500, 4,000? SCBAs? And why would we not bring the steel tanks from stations 2 and 3 to Station 1 to fill? Like compared to oxyacetylene, or what are we talking? Welding tank. Yeah. I used to play tournament paintball, and I had a nitrogen system. I'd go to Purity, and I had to fill my nitrogen tank, big cylinder, 4 foot tall. I used to do that a couple times a month.
Technically, you can't haul them tanks laying down. It's against the law. They gotta stand up. 100-pound propane's gotta stand up too.
That's propane, that's a liquid.
You're still dealing with pressure.
Other than labor costs, is there a cost when we go and track down that other one? Do they charge us? Do we get a bill for it? Okay.
I always look at that, like with any spending here, as to how did we make it up till this point without whatever the big spend is next. And that return on investment, it's a couple times a year. I'm thinking if everybody else is putting in compressors, it's going to free up the schedule for the compressor out of Allendale, so it'll make it a lot easier to get. How does that work if it fails? Who pays for the rebuild?
Anyone else? Or among the board? Session among the board? All right, hearing nothing further. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Item 12, this is the crosswalk and traffic light at Baldwin and Brewer. Thank you for pulling that up. It's been a source of a lot of discussion and, as was pointed out tonight, debate as far as what to do, where to do it. Could we get cooperation? Could we pull together mutual cooperation between the school system, the county, township? So this came out of utilities. Not that you have to motion it, but let's have someone place it before the board by motion.
So moved.
Support.
They moved and supported. Again, utilities. I kind of echo what I heard tonight, that I have heard other locations where it might go. And how did, maybe the first question would be, how was Brewer arrived at?
So our first proposal was to put it at 40th and Baldwin. And they did a traffic study, but because they bused the kids across the road, the traffic study was skewered in its results because they only showed like 2 kids crossing the road. They also have a rule that if they cross the road, they're going to be, I'm not going to say reprimanded, but they were going to be talked to because they did not want anybody crossing the road at 40th and Baldwin. So we went out and we did our own study of students that live in Brewer and in that neighborhood to see which kids would be affected by crossing the road, and went back to the county with representatives from Huntsville Public School, and I believe Rob went. Did you go too, Justin? Okay. Rob went along, and they went back and forth what to do, and the county road commission said we would like this at Brewer and Baldwin across the drive from the school. That's what the county engineer, road commissioner said that they wanted to do. And so we went with what they said because we've been trying to get one across there, and felt that that's what they're going to do, and we go with what they proposed. There's still talk of possibly, and I don't know if it's for sure now, there was talk about putting an island at 40th in Baldwin yet, which wouldn't be a red light, but it would just be an island where they could cross halfway across the road on an island and then go further across. And I don't know if that was ever agreed upon or not, but that was a discussion, if I remember right.
Yeah, if I can jump in a little bit. So by doing that, you would create a crossing that's unprotected, whereas we thought with the crosswalk at the entrance to the school, it'd be protected, and then it'd be safer for the students getting to school. And looking at the longevity of us being responsible for crossing guards, that'd be another post that we would have to man. So ideally, consolidating it to one crossing would save us on cost and get us to where we wanted to be long term.
So help me out further. I understand what you just said was they didn't want two different areas. It was consolidated to one. I'm still looking for the rationale that the county had for why Brewer versus 40th. Do we know that?
Originally, when we approached them, they said that Brewer and Baldwin was too close to 36 and Baldwin. So then the next option was 40th and Baldwin. The third party, I guess, consultant pushed to have it at Brewer and Baldwin, and the Road Commission board approved it, which in turn is the Road Commission. But that's why we have to fund it versus the Road Commission. Is the Road Commission, from their analysis, do not see justification for it. We look at the big picture of there's 800 plus students in this area. The current 36 in Baldwin is outside, from our perspective, the township's perspective, is outside the school zone. And we currently have a crossing guard that we have to ensure and protect the safety of our students in an area that's not even in the school zone. And we can't expand the school zone because we've looked at that route too. We've looked at every possible avenue to make this as efficient as possible, and this solution at 36 in Baldwin is probably the best outcome that we can get.
I mean Brewer.
Brewer and Baldwin is the best outcome we can get.
Consultants say why they pushed for that spot as opposed to 40th.
Because it's basically centrally located between 40th and 36, and it has the highest concentration of individuals that would cross the road at that intersection.
That last part, the highest concentration because of that neighborhood, it's the natural way out of that neighborhood.
Correct.
There aren't a lot that come from 40th further to the south there.
That neighborhood, the people can physically see the school, but there's no good route to get to the school. They would have to, really, if you lived at that corner, you would have to go up to 36 in Baldwin, cross the road outside the school zone, and then come all the way back. And what they've found is most students either would have their parents take them, they would cross illegally, which we tried to stop doing that because it's 5 lanes of traffic and it's very busy, very dangerous. And
fast right there.
Very fast.
School zone, but it's fast right there.
Last year, our insurance company, they came out and looked at it, and they wrote a letter saying to the Road Commission, encouraging them to have a crosswalk inside the school zone because they didn't feel it was safe. And that was from our insurance company saying that.
That was it's 1,000 foot from Brewer.
If you're going eastbound from 40th and you approach 36th Ave, you'll see end of school zone probably 125 feet from that intersection. So
what you're underscoring is why we were able to prevail upon the county to get something, because what's there is outside the school zone, and none of us is disputing that, right? We needed something within the school zone, and the question came down to where.
Right.
Not do we need it, but where should we put it? And I guess I would have guessed, like you said, Gary, that originally I would have guessed they'd have said 40th, which is kind of what was talked about for spacing purposes. But I guess the one point that I've heard you convey on their behalf, I'm not saying you drove this, we were just trying to get them to do something. If you're saying most of the kids cross right there, I mean, I don't have any statistics to defeat that.
I drive that out. How many? So you had 2 people crossing the study? How many people crossing 36? I drive by it the first day.
So the road, when we first approached them, the Road Commission went out there and they did analysis of, it was at the end of the school year, and they had, I think it was May of 2024, and they looked at how many people crossed basically Baldwin at 40th. And there, again, to what Gary said, is there is a sign that the school has put up that says, this is not a crossing area.
Students do not cross here.
Yeah.
And then they were looking to see how many people crossed.
And during that time, the engineers witnessed 2 kids sprinting across 5 lanes of traffic after school. So then he looked at potential, what does this look like? And they said, well, there's not enough use for this. Well, it's suppressed. The results are suppressed because you have 800 plus kids that live in the south side of Baldwin that can see their school. And for the past 20 some years, we've been busing these kids across the road, and there's no safe path to get to the school.
Right, and that's my question. Doesn't the school bus those people? Isn't that the rule, is if you have a busy road in between the school? It's kind of the same with Bowerwood and like Wallen Estates, Berger Estates. They're across Cottonwood, so they bus them. Is that the same with Brewer?
I can't speak for Jensen Public Schools, but
Well, what is
I'm
their
familiar with
policy at Hudsonville? Is Brewer bus to the school?
all
Or they're
these kids
required
are
to walk?
currently bused.
Okay.
So we do not have a safe path across Baldwin.
How many, did you ask the crossing guard at 36, how many people do they cross a day?
I did not ask them because it's outside the school zone.
I mean, if 5 kids are crossing a day?
We do have a crossing guard. I can talk to Mr. Yonkman, who is our school resource safety officer, who's in charge of the crossing guards, and he's the one that monitors each location in the township. And he looks at, is it needed? Should we keep on doing it? And, what's the viability of keeping this different zones in the township?
Who is the third-party consultant?
That is Progressive A&E.
Gary, when you were at that meeting, did you get any sense that the commission, which had originally not been in favor of anything, right?
Right.
Did you get any sense that, hey, either take this or we'll go back to our position of not doing anything now?
Well, one of the things was mentioned is that the school system would like this, and one of the reasons is that they can't find bus drivers. And so that would alleviate a couple of bus drivers busing kids across the road now because then they would be walking. So that was brought up that they would eliminate a couple bus drivers because of that, because they can't find bus drivers. So they see that. And the reason we brought 40th the first time is that we've been talking with the school, maybe someday getting that trail going across to 42nd by Bauer. And that's still not out of the question. But our thought was if we had a red light there crossing there, then that would help should we get a trail across that area. And that's where all the conversation started. And then, yeah, we've gone through a lot of different avenues on this, trying to figure out what to do. And this is what's been proposed. So I think I kind of see where they're going with it, because if you go further down and you look at Teton and all those other plats are to the south, they're going to be coming down through that area to 36 and then going back out too. They're not going to go to 40th because there's residences on 40th Avenue, and they're not going to go to them yards. They end up coming through the Platte and being able to get over there once we try to loop some sidewalks and stuff in there and trying to figure that out. So that's where we're at right now.
We're being asked to approve this or not, but just to be clear, if we didn't approve it, it's ultimately not our call. Is that fair to say? I mean, is the road commission, it being a county road, ultimately in a position to say, well, I mean, we wish you would support it, but we're going to do this or we're going to do maybe nothing?
As far as I know, if we approve this, we're probably going to go forward with it. I don't think the road commission has said that they wouldn't do it.
Hey, Jim, if we didn't approve it, we would have to then have Progressive E&E write up a different proposal and bring it back to the road commission for approval.
A proposal for 40th?
For 40th and Baldwin. His recommendation, and when we sat down with Hudsonville Public Schools and we went through it together, we both agreed that this would probably be the better solution to both their interest and the township's interest long term.
School's perspective also?
Yes, and that's why they're willing to partner with 50%.
School's perspective is this is the better location of the two?
Yeah.
So there will no longer be crossing at 36 then?
We will, if this goes through, we build this is good because there's a build out about 9 months to do this. So if we had this ready for the 25-26 school year, we would eliminate the crossing guard at 36 and Baldwin. They would not cross kids across Baldwin. They would send them down to Brewer and Baldwin and have a crosswalk there. That crosswalk with the traffic light. The school also currently at that intersection, because it's on their property, has a crosswalk that crosses kids across their entryway to the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So then that crosswalk would then cross kids across Baldwin.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to sit and second guess. 3 different parties have examined it fairly thoroughly. I'm just trying to avoid the situation where, because I don't have kids there, but where they go, you idiots. Everybody knew it should have gone here, you know?
I feel like if it was at 40th and Baldwin, we might get that where this is.
I see.
I think, to me, it's a home run, but.
What's the operation of that light going to be? What happens when school's out of session?
So Brewer and Baldwin is going to be synced to 36 and Baldwin. So you won't get this red light. If it's green at Baldwin and 36, it will be green at Brewer and Baldwin.
Okay.
What about the odds of them only running at certain times of day when it's, beginning
So
of
we can program it with a button. So if it's non-school hours, you want to go up to the businesses to visit them. There's a restaurant in the corner.
Summer or whatever.
You
blink
could
yellow.
push the button. It would cycle. It would give you a crosswalk to go across the street, and then you could safely get across Baldwin. I think maybe Sergeant Tama can speak to this. I think at 36 of Baldwin, didn't we have a fatal there? Or maybe Mr. Chief DeWitt can.
Years ago.
I think it was last summer. So it's not the safest.
You're riding your bike or something. Yeah. So the road commission said, no, we're not going to do it at 40th. You can't do it at 40th? Or just we're not paying for it at 40th?
That's my understanding, yes.
Typical road commission, just like they do at 12th. It's like, well, we're not going to pay for it. No.
I don't
want to pay for it.
I don't sit on that committee.
I had the impression it was the school that was more of that mind. Is that right? It's saying, look,
When we hired the third-party consultant, they looked at 36 in Baldwin, Brewer and Baldwin, and 40th in Baldwin, and their conclusion is they would put it at Brewer and Baldwin, and this is the best avenue for a crosswalk.
Did Progressive A&E do a count of how many kids are getting crossed?
They did, so they don't do a count. Well, they did do a count, but they also look at the situation. Because of the results were suppressed, because there is busing right now, they look at how many people live in these houses in the neighborhood to the south.
Because they're looking at the potential to cancel a bus route right there.
So they're only going to no longer bus Brewer. What about High Point across
I
the
can't
street?
speak for Hudsonville Public Schools because that's a conversation with them about busing and their needs. What I'm saying is the safest spot that we could put a crosswalk across Baldwin, which is a 5-lane road, is at Brewer and Baldwin.
It would be nice for the kids to be able to walk to school. I mean, I walk to school every day. Uphill both ways, right? As a kid.
Snow in June.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So I guess my concern would be is it High Point to the, would that be east of 36? Or whatever neighborhood that is behind the fire station. So what happens when those kids walk?
So that's
We need a crossing guard at 36 still.
we would look at is, would we keep a crosswalk at 36 in Baldwin and only cross across 36 at Baldwin? We would not cross 5 lanes of road. We would just cross 3 lanes of road. And we look at needs too. If no one's crossing there, we're not going to pay someone out there to cross no one.
right.
So if there's a need there, then we'll fill that need.
Because you could cross them from, like, if they lived in the neighborhood by Chapel Point, you could cross them across 36, and then essentially they can walk sidewalk down to Brewer to go across into school.
Correct.
Do you think this would encourage more kids to walk to school if it was safer and they had lights, or are they already all used to busing? I mean, it's a hard,
I think that
rains and parents drive their kids to the bus stop.
yeah, you're right.
It's too hot, parents drive their kids to the bus stop.
And they're used
It's
to
too
doing it.
cold. It's snowing. It's too humid. It's too foggy. I mean, I'm trying to think, have you been to any elementary schools? Everybody wants to pick up their snowflakes, so kids don't walk to school. That's why I drive that road all the time, and I hardly see any kids crossing. To me, it just seems like it's not premature to be making a decision like this when we don't even have a study saying how many kids are crossing there. I think more time needs to be taken. Is the school going to abandon that? What are they going to abandon next? Now, if the school is paying 100%, then I might be on board. But for us to contribute, I see this being a benefit to the school. And they've got a lot bigger budget than us. And if safety was a concern for the school, they would have put a sidewalk along 36 by now. And I think, Gary, you're going to get on that. You're going to make a put in a sidewalk. And we still haven't seen that yet. So if safety is a concern, still waiting for that sidewalk. And they got money. What is it, $80 million budget? And once again, Road Commission doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I think we should maybe pay attention to the Road Commission. There's probably a reason they do it. The Road Commission's got a lot of money.
Yeah, but when somebody gets hit and killed there, they won't go to the road commission
they're
anymore.
gonna come here.
You persuaded me. I would have guessed for you. But I mean, from the answers to the questions, the things I'm hearing, those who have looked at it more carefully have more of the data, more of the thought into this on three different parties' part. I guess I would say I'm just grateful that something is going to be done. And I know that we've had, and all of us have probably heard from residents about it. And to be able to, even though you're going to get, no matter what solution, we're going to hear somebody who says it shouldn't have gone there, right? But the absence of any sort of crossing is not acceptable. And so I think our residents should be overall pleased that with the Road Commission declining that we didn't leave it there. So this is good.
I think it makes sense if it's to eliminate potentially that 36th crossing guard, to move it to where majority is that are going to cross, and also for insurance purposes.
And it's most importantly the safety of our kids and our residents.
Any other comments? Okay. Well, this also is not a roll call, so it's just a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Passes. Second public comment period. Anyone wish to address the board? McCloskey, right? You don't want the Mr. Just McCloskey.
Has anybody gone to the superintendent of Hudsonville Schools to get any advice from them for future use of how many kids are going to be, more or less is going to be there? I think you ought to have some from the Hudsonville Schools District. And a lot of times they don't have, right now, talk about busing, we can't get bus drivers, because bus drivers don't do their job. A lot of the kids are bullied on the school buses. My one granddaughter, she don't want to ride the bus because they won't do anything about the bullying. It's nothing but a big can of worms over there. And I know right now with the weather being nice, there's a lot of kids, they walk by my house, I see them. Bicycles and everything right now, with the weather being nice, but you can't anticipate the weather being like this all the time. I think you ought to have somebody from the superintendent of the school there to come and give you some 2 cents worth on what they think it's done, because they tell the principals, whatever else, anybody that crosses that street, they're going to discipline them. So why should the kids be disciplined going to and from school. It's not right. You need to have some more input from other people than just the road commission. The road commission don't care that much. And then when they do the survey like in the mid-morning when there's nobody, when nobody's crossing the street. So when they do it in the afternoon, you have two people cross the street. That ain't nothing. There's more than two people cross that street. I see it all the time. I'm on the corner. Not right what's totally being done.
Thank you.
Hello, Pete Plowman, Precinct 13, Georgetown Township. Want to read something to you again. Integrity. We believe in honesty is the best policy. We believe that transparency and accountability are critical. I just learned more than I ever would have learned in a subcommittee by the discussion that had there. Because those discussions aren't there. I go to these subcommittees. I know some things, but there's a lot of people in this residence that live here know nothing about what's going on. We don't have transparency in our subcommittees. I have the services subcommittee. There's 9 items on here. Rush Creek, parking lot proposal, discussion took place. Cemetery improvements, discussion took place. Cemetery screening, discussion took place. Public comment, members of the public were present, no comments. Other business, discussions took place. That is not transparency. The people need to know what's going on. Gary, last time you said we had enough transparency. This is not transparency. This all in for Georgetown that you put your name, your money, and your face to? No. That's a lie. Because you don't believe in transparency.
Please address your comments to the
Jim, they do not address, or they do not believe in transparency. You as a group do not believe in it. You don't believe in accountability, of which I've had a letter trying to go to the board now for over 9 months to address accountability, rules, policies, and procedures, actually the laws of which we govern ourselves, that you do not have put in public comment to be addressed. So you censor me and don't let me have my right to address my government for discretions. The other side of the coin is that Gary's whole thing with Ryan Kidd the last 2 meetings, come to find out, you really don't know what you're talking about. Ryan Kidd's trying to secure the election.
Why did you say my name? Why did you say my name?
He meant to say John, I think, but please address the board chair.
May I have my time back?
Go ahead.
It was 45 seconds.
Like an NFL referee here.
As per rule.
45 seconds back on the clock. I would just go from there to 2:15.
John Schlum attacked Ryan Kidd for something he knew nothing about. You should be embarrassed of what you don't know. John, you're unprofessional.
Address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Jim, he should apologize for the actions that he took after Ryan. He should give a full-throated apology. He should also apologize to Mike Bosch for the attack that he did when he was about unclaimed tax or untamed or taxes that were not taken by the township from businesses. He knew nothing about what he was talking about. He should be ashamed of what he doesn't know, his ignorance. So, in closing, this is a lie. And what is it liars don't have? Integrity.
All right, anyone else? Seeing none, yes?
Sean Half, Winifred Street. You know, this might be a surprise to some people, but I talked to Gary, I talked to John after we had our meeting here last week, and I was somewhat supportive. I'm probably leaning towards what Mr. Plowman said about transparency and recording some of the other meetings. What I don't like is getting up here and questioning people's integrity about what they voted for. Gary and John had some interesting comments about it. They had some interesting points. In general, I think eventually we should eventually here in Georgetown go to recording those type of meetings, because while I understand the points they made, I think eventually we need to get to that point. But this isn't an issue of questioning somebody's integrity or whether they're lying about it. It's just a difference of opinion. And I think we'll get along better, or if we want to get to that point, those of us that maybe want it to be recorded, I don't think it's advancing the cause by questioning people's integrity or saying that the people that disagreed with it were lying and just being dishonest. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the second public comment period. Board discussion, general information. And I guess I'd say a couple things. One, I know there was a comment made about morale in the fire department. I think from my own interaction with them that morale is quite strong, and I commend the chief and others that work with him for that. Nothing's perfect ever anywhere, right? Because we're people, but I'd say on the whole, there's a lot of unity and good morale. I want to thank board members whose last meeting this may well be tonight for your years of service to this community, and it takes time. It requires a thick skin. It requires putting yourself out in front of the public and being judged by the public, which is not an easy thing to do. It's easy to observe and to comment, and it's quite another thing to actually put yourself in a position to lead. I like to say frequently, we are ordinary citizens, each trying to do our part. You all do your part in different places, I trust, whether it be in church or school or community. This is our part, and I've appreciated people's willingness to take time out of their lives to be a part of contributing to the leadership of the township. So for those of you who are departing, I know that others feel the same way, and the community would probably say much the same thing, but thank you for your years of service and for the time that you have dedicated to doing what you thought was best in helping the township. So thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would agree with what you said. I too thank those that are served on the board for the time they've given. It's a service. It's time consuming in some respects, so I appreciate the work they put in.
What else?
Amy is trying to work with the library concerning a trunk or treat, which is the 25th, and we haven't got all the details worked out yet, but if any of the board members would like to participate in that, if you'd let Amy know, and I'll try to coordinate it also to make it happen.
What is it you need?
Money.
Okay. That's what I was hearing that.
Well, we need candy, really. It's money for candy.
Yeah, okay.
For the township to give out some candy.
Yeah.
So John and I have already committed to doing it.
Okay.
And it's organized by the library, but we thought it'd be nice to have a board presence. And so Amy got that rolling, and there's a little time conflict, but I think we can make that work.
Yes.
And be able to pass things out. So if you'd like to participate,
let me know.
Amy will make it happen.
Is one of you going to be there that night, like next to some sort of display or something? Or what's just here's candy for? Okay.
I was hoping we could just someone else, but I think they need a representative. So
they might need us to hand it out, but I'm not sure. We'll confirm with Library Rob on that.
Okay.
If someone had a number of children, that might be fun for them.
Everyone knows my role is to be a pie judge, and that's.
Or grandchildren.
Podcast at this point.
I know
Grandchildren.
grandchildren is what. Well, no, because it's.
Yeah.
They may enjoy that.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Others.
I know it was brought up the last 2 meetings that we had, and we have been given an update. And I was wondering if John could provide that update from Justin Roebuck.
I disagree with the direction you're going with this, and I'd like us to end on a high note. I like the comment that Jim and Gary made, and we do appreciate your service. But the last meeting we had, it did not go well, and I don't think we should go down that road.
I think he deserves an apology, public apology. I don't need one. I don't care what you think, but I think you owe Ryan an apology.
Because you were wrong. You were wrong twice, and you took that opportunity to question my character, my integrity, and everything. So I guess that you made it personal. So I mean, you can choose not to do it here. That's fine in a public setting. You can do it after, but I think it'd be better if it was public, since that was the 2 times you brought it up were public. So.
In both situations, I asked you for information.
In here, and you never actually told me or contacted.
I asked you for information.
Yep, and I provided it, and everything I said was
something that we needed.
Okay.
And I would disagree with you on the interpretation of what we received, but I want to thank you for your service. I think you're a good person. I think you put your heart into this job, but I think you've taken terrible advice, and that's hurt you. But that's just my call on that. But are you a solid person that loves this community? Yes, you do. Was my questioning appropriate? Absolutely. It needed to be done in both cases.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hong Kong.
Meeting adjourned.